Let's get it. Kudash, 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 Adonai, Elohim, Sabayah, meaning holy, 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 Lord of hosts. Yah, He, Ba, He, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, as a collective whole, creating the tetragrammaton. In the beginning, in the book of Genesis, Bereshit, Elohim, plural, said, let us create them in our image, as above, so below. The macro prosophis above, the micro prosophis below. For us to be a light to the world and a reflection as his children, the spiritual light. Today we're about to go into an interesting topic. Today all I'm doing is linking precepts together. Like it says in the book of Isaiah, read precept upon precept, line upon line. Here a little, there a little. And the Holy Scriptures will answer themselves. And the Holy Scriptures are just not in the Bible. Remember, the Bible was canonized by the crucifiers, the ones that kill, steal, and destroy. So they add it and they take it away, whatever they saw fit for whatever agenda that they were trying to push. But there are so many other lost scriptures, apocryphal scriptures, that link. And the book of Enoch is one of them. I'm going to prove that to you today because everything that I'm going to read to you out of the Bible, I'm going to give you more in-depth details with precepts out of the book of Enoch. But first, we're going to lay a foundation. What is the topic today? The topic today is, why is the judgment happening in this generation for a specific group of people? Why, what, and the cause and effect behind it. So first, we're going to jump right into this, the Bible. We're going to lay the foundation. Genesis 15 and 13. The Lord said to Abraham, you can be assured that your descendants will be a stranger in a foreign land where they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years. So 400 years, listen to that. As the African Americans were enslaved in this foreign land. You have there in Virginia, the 1619 Project. That's when it started. We actually started before then, but this is just what's documented. The 1619 Project to 2019, when the H.R. 40 bill of African Americans being in this land for 400 years. Precisely, to the T. That's when you get these, the 10 plagues of the apocalypse of Abraham starting to unleash. That's why you see this great chaos upon the earth. But let's get in more detail. Why? Why would I say this happened to Negro people? Because after this, let's finish reading this. He said, they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years. But I will punish the nation that enslaves them. In the end, they will come away with great wealth, meaning great substance. And for you will die in peace and be buried at a ripe old age. After 4 generations, which is 400 years, your descendants will return here to this land. For the sins of the Amorites do not yet warrant their destruction. Sins of the Amorites. In Revelation, it calls them Mystery Babylon. America starts with an A. But here it calls them the Amorites. So this is Genesis 15, verse 13. And it tells you that 400 years, that's kid. So in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, 15, verse 15 through 68, it tells you the things that they would go through in this captivity. How they would leave on ships, never to see their land again. How they would be hung on trees. How they would work yards and not get the fruits of their labor, build houses and not be able to dwell in them. How they would worship other gods, neither them nor their forefathers known, even wood and stone. And it's 2 main religions that Negroid people are in America. And wood and stone is symbolic to those two religions. I'm not even going to get into it because God doesn't see religion. Religions are the traditions of man, you know, and we are spiritual people. The only thing the Bible talks about is nations of people, specific groups of people, some being above some people, some being below some people, but as a collective whole, as a hierarchy for the chain of command and how he set things up to be. So in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15 through 68, I guarantee you, if you read those verses, you'll see that happened to no other people but the Negroid people. And that's why when you go into these other texts, it talks about the El Cristo Negroes, meaning the anointed Negroes of God. Negro in Hebrew book, it's not a bad word. Negro is basically a word that means anointed, you know? It's basically talking about a specific group of people. Just like it says in the Hebrew text, it tells you, you know, people going around saying goons, goons, goons. But they don't realize people say goons like, oh, I'll stick my goons on you. But when you go in the Hebrew text, goons means protected. Kind of similar to what they're trying to say to in that phrase or that tense of what they're saying. So these translations and these words are key. So now we're going to jump right into it, you know. First, we're going to start off at Revelations chapter 13 through 10. And then we're going to go into Enoch chapter 38, page 60. And we're going to link these two precepts together. All we're doing is linking precepts together to give you a better understanding. So let's go right to Revelations 13. Let's try to go through this quick. But I'm just trying to give you the meat and bones so you can get an idea of what's really happening, you know? A lot of these people, they give you their own interpretation of what they feel it to be to fit their narrative because they're actually not reading these books and understanding them because the answers are in these books and all the other texts that aren't been taken away from the book, you know? Chapter 13, verse 10. And it says, chapter 13, verse 10, and thee that leadeth into captivity will go into captivity, and thee that killeth with the sword shall be killed with the sword. That is Revelation 13, chapter 13, verse 10. Now let's see what the book of Enoch says about that. And this is on page 69. Remember, it says, thee that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Thee that killeth with the sword shall be killed with the sword. This is page 60 out of the book of Enoch, chapter 38. The first parable, when the congregation of the righteous shall appear, and sinners shall be judged for their sins, and shall be driven from the face of the earth. And when the righteous one shall appear before the eyes of the righteous, whose elect works hang upon the Lord of spirits, and light shall appear to the righteous, and the elect who dwell on the earth, where then will be the dwelling of the sinners, and where the resting place of those who have denied the Lord of spirits. It had been good for them if they had not been born. When the secrets of the righteous shall be revealed and the sinners judged. Why the secrets of the righteous? Because their heritage was stolen from them. So the way it is today, just like Revelation 2 and 9 said, he said he knows our work, our tribulation, and our poverty, but we are rich, meaning we're spiritual. And he knows the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews, but are not, but are the synagogues of Satan. So there's a people out there portraying to be the spiritual lights and the children of the Most High. We are the children of the Most High by blood. They are the converts, you know, from the Khazar Empire. But let's get into this. When the secrets of the righteous shall be revealed, and the sinners judged, and the godless driven from the presence of the righteous and the elect. From that time, those that possess the earth shall no longer be powerful and exalted, and they shall not be able to behold the face of the holy. For the Lord of spirits has caused his light to appear on the face of the holy, righteous, and elect. Then shall the kings and the mighty perish, and be given into the hands of the righteous and holy. Listen to that again. And be given into the hands of the righteous and holy. Listen to that again. And be given into the hands of the righteous and holy. And thenceforward none shall seek for themselves mercy from the Lord of spirits, for their life is at end. And what does Revelation chapter 13 verse 10 say? Thee that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Thee that killeth with the sword shall be killed with the sword. And as it says again, it says, and be given into the hands of the righteous and holy. All right, that's one verse. A precept, we just went to precept. So from Revelation 10 out the Bible to chapter 38 out of Enoch. All right, now let's jump to the second two precepts. Revelation 6 and 10. What does 6 and 10 say? Chapter 6 and verse 10. It says, they shouted to the Lord and said, O sovereign Lord, holy and true, how long before you judge the people who belong to this world and avenge our blood for what they have done to us? Say that again. For what they have done to us. Then a white robe was given to each of them, and they were told to rest a little longer until the full number of their brothers and sisters, their fellow servants of the Messiah, who were to be martyred, had joined to them. So remember, key words here, until the full number of their brothers and sisters, their fellow servants of the Messiah, who were to be martyred, had joined them. Let's see what the book of Enoch has to say. Now this is Enoch chapter 45, page 67. All right, Enoch chapter 45 and 67. It said, in those days shall have ascended the prayers of the righteous, and the blood of the righteous from the earth before the Lord of spirits. In those days the holy ones who dwell above in the heavens shall unite with one voice, and supplicate and pray and praise, and give thanks and bless the name of the Lord of spirits, on behalf of the blood of the righteous, which had been shed. Remember, they just said, how much longer till you avenge our blood? It says, on behalf of the blood of the righteous, which had been shed, and that the prayer of the righteous may not be in vain before the Lord of spirits, that judgment may be done unto them, and that they may not have to suffer forever. In those days I saw the head of days, when he seated himself upon the throne of his glory, and the books of the living were opened before him, and all his host which is in heaven above, and his counselors stood before him, and the hearts of the holy were filled with joy, because the number of the righteous had been offered. What did it just say right here? It says, a little longer until the full number of their brothers and sisters and their fellow servants of the Messiah who were to be martyred had joined them. That is Revelation chapter 6, verse 10. But back to this. In Enoch. And he said, and all his hosts which in heaven above and his counselors stood before him. And the hearts of the holy were filled with joy, because that number of the righteous had been offered, and the prayers of the righteous had been heard, and the blood of the righteous been required before the Lord of Spirit. See, it's a process. A period of time, a cycle, a period. Basically that 400-year period till he turns his face back and he starts to rain judgment on the earth through people, places, and things. He turns the evil against the evil. This is when 2/3 get utterly wiped out. He said, I did a video the other day about the famines, the earthquakes, the great death, the great sorrows that are going to come upon the earth. And this is coming for all the wickedness that was done against his true children. All the protesting and marching in the world was never going to change nothing. But until enough of us became conscious, identified what was really happening, and became on one accord. And that's how we unlock the Christ consciousness, the messianic energy that is going to come upon us in these days, the elect ones in the righteous seed. I'm going to prove that to you now with this last precept I'm about to read. And the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 1 through 6. Hold on, let's get this page right real quick. All right. Revelations chapter 20, verse 1 through 6. This talks about that 1,000-year millennial reign. The return of the Messiah is the messianic energy that unlocks in your DNA. And your rapture is you ascending to your higher self and higher consciousness and putting those old things off to the side and girding yourself with white garments. You are becoming the bridegroom. Basically, your connection to the Messiah. Now it's going to be a great marriage. That's when the connection, the wheat comes back to the shaft. Just as nature is to the cosmos, just as the masculine is to the feminine. It's that connection to that messianic energy. All the atoms and protons that's in our body are connected to all the elements in the cosmos. As above, so below. That's why he said we were going to have to relearn everything and become as if we were a newborn. So let's get to this, try to knock this out real quick. This is Revelation chapter 20, verse 1 through 6. The New Jerusalem, the 1,000 years. Then I saw an angel coming down from the heaven with the keys to the bottomless pit. This is when they bind up the evil inclination. And a heavy chain in his hand. He seized the dragon, that old serpent, who is the devil, Satan, and bound him in chains for 1,000 years. The angel threw him into the bottomless pit, which he then shut and locked, so Satan could not deceive the nations anymore until the 1,000 years were finished. Afterwards, he must be released for a little while. Then I saw thrones, and the people sitting on them had been given the authority to judge. This is talking about his elect, those who get the messianic energy. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded. These talking about those martyrs we just read about. For their testimony about the Messiah and for proclaiming the word of God, meaning Yah. They had not worshipped the beast or his statue, nor basically mean his system, what he stood for. The beast is the system. Nor accepted his mark on their forehead or their hand. They all came to life again, and they reigned. The key word, they reigned with the Messiah for 1,000 years. that Christ energy, the Christ consciousness. But Enoch is about to give us more details on that. Now, let's close that up. That was Revelation chapter 21 through 6, talking about the 1,000-year millennial reign with Christ. So this is chapter 60 out of the book of Enoch, verse 7 through 15. Now look how this corresponds with that. From the beginning, the Son of Man was hidden, and the Most High preserved him in the presence of his might, and revealed him to the elect. So basically showing those ones, those 144,000 elect, the 12,000 out of each of the 12 tribes who were scattered amongst the four corners of the earth, as it talked about in the book of Deuteronomy under the curses, that would leave on ships and all of these things that would happen to them. That those curses, once you read in Deuteronomy, happen to no other people but our people. You know, you got to be a fool to deny it. And if you could link it that it happened to anybody else, please do so. Please leave a comment in the chat and please enlighten me, because you have to have the full truth to understand what's really happening, you know? These churches, they only read one line, give you their interpretation, elaborate on it, but they never answer it with the scriptures that's there. And it's a reason these scriptures were taken away, because guess what? They prove everything that it says in the book. For in the beginning, the Son of Man was hidden, and the Most High preserved him in the presence of his might, and revealed him to the elect, his real children, not the ones of Revelation 2 and 9. Because he tells you there will be, he told you there will be a swagger jacker. He told you there will be a impersonator. There will be a false people, you know. That's why he said the land of Israel will be trodden down until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. The Gentiles are the rulers that be today, which are oppressing his true children. It's going to tell you that in here. That's why all of these events are happening now. He said, and the congregation of the elect and the holy shall be sown, and all the elect shall stand before him on that day. And all the kings and the mighty and the exalted and those who rule the earth shall fall down before him on their faces and worship and set their hopes upon the Son of Man. And the Son of Man, he's telling you that the Son of Man is actually the man, his creation, as above, so below. But his anointed ones, that's why the Messiah told you in the New Testament. He said, I must leave. He said, to send you the Comforter as the Holy Spirit, the Shekinah, the Kundalini energy. When you rapture, ascend to your higher heights, and you will work greater wonders than I have. Key words. You know, you cannot take these words out of context, or it will not make sense to you. And he said, and the kings of the earth and the mighty and the exalted and those who rule the earth shall fall down before him on their faces and worship and set their hope upon the Son of Man and petition him and supplicate for mercy at his hands. Nevertheless, the Lord of spirits will so press them that they shall hastily go forth from his presence, and their faces shall be filled with shame. It also talks about that in the Apocrypha, the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5. He said, in that day the righteous man shall stand in great boldness against the such that afflicted him, had no accounts of his labor. When they see it, they shall be in great fear at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they have looked for. Now back to this. And their faces shall be filled with shame, and the darkness grow deeper on their face. And he will deliver them to the angels for punishment. This is when them cherubim and them seraphim come, you know, to execute vengeance on them, because they have oppressed his children and his elect. Read that again. And he will deliver them to the angels for punishment, to execute vengeance on them, because they have oppressed his children and his elect. Remember when the sixth seal was being broken in the book of Revelation, it was the four winds, those four angels holding back the natural disasters and the things that were going to hit earth and start the process of elimination. He told you, after you see that new moon, that lunar eclipse, that blood moon, this different energy is about to come upon the earth, what you're seeing right now, mass shootings, everything. You ain't even seen nothing yet. This is just the beginning of sorrows. But he said, until he seals up his elect. And this is when he goes in the 12,000 out of each of the 12 tribes, which create the 144,000. And each of those true believers and cleavers that cleave to them, because they have the messianic energy. These are going to be the lights, the manifestation of the Christ consciousness. And let's read this again. Why is this all happening? And he will deliver them to the angels for punishment, to execute vengeance on them. Those is those four winds. He said, do not harm the earth and the sea until you seal up my elect. So basically, this judgment ain't for them, you know? It's going to pass right by them and wipe out everything around them. To execute vengeance on them because they have oppressed his children and his elect. What did he tell Abraham in the beginning? He said, your descendants will be oppressed and be taken captive in a strange land, a foreign land, 400 years, 1619, 2019. Now look at this timeline here. Remember he told you about that 7-year period? 2017 to 2024. That's why you have to understand the Kabbalah, all these esoteric books, and exoteric. One is the spiritual understanding, one is the physical. You have to understand the biblical numerology. You have to understand the Hebrew alphabet in order to understand what's really happening. And they shall be a spectacle for the righteous and for his elect. They shall rejoice over them because the wrath of the Lord of spirits resteth upon them. And his sword is drunk with their blood. Remember in Revelation, he said, I am coming back with my garment dipped in blood. What you're seeing on the Marvel's Infinity Wars. Purple. Thanos. The highest color of consciousness in the chakras. He was purple. He came to collect his gemstones. That gave him the full power. And what did he do? Decrease the population. Things is happening right in plain sight, man. Y'all better wake up. This is real. And his sword is drunk with their blood. And the righteous and elect shall be saved on that day. And they shall never thereafter see the face of sinners and unrighteous. And the Lord of spirits will abide over them. And with that, the Son of Man shall they eat. Listen to the key word. And with that, shall the Son of Man shall they eat. You remember he talked about the manna? Manna is spiritual food. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So, remember, Christians means to be Christ-like. Christ-like is to have the consciousness of the Messiah. That energy. So, he said, and with that Son of Man shall they eat. So, the knowledge in which he possessed, the work greater wonders in which he had, because now he is returning unto them to give them the abilities to do the same things in which he did. And be saviors, you know? Liberate people and work greater wonders than which he had. He had to leave to send the Spirit so that Spirit could manifest and dwell in them. That is the return. That's that spirit of Sophia. That energy, that messianic energy. Let's read that again. And with that Son of Man shall they eat. See, if you was reading this without the spiritual knowledge, understanding, or without the books that correspond with it, you wouldn't know what he was talking about. They shall eat and lie down and rise up forever and ever. It's that 1,000 years millennial reign. And the righteous and the elect shall have risen from the earth and cease to be downcast countenance. Countenance, as above, so below. In the beginning, Elohim said, let us create them in our image. There be a reflection. The reflection. So they will not be cast down countenance. Now they're going to be lifted back to their rightful place. And this is talking about the oppressed people. Who are the most oppressed people on the earth today? Think about it. Really think about it. This is what these people don't want you to understand. They want you to be oblivious to the fact. They want to hit you with all their propaganda and lies and distract you and divert you from what's really happening. All these religion institutions is doing is bringing people to their demise, to kill, steal, and destroy. They are the true Antichrist. They are everything. They tell you God's laws is done away with. They tell you everything that was designed to protect you from these things, they have taken away. Like I did a video the other day out of the Greater and Lesser Keys of Solomon. The Hashems, the names of power in which they took out. And it showed you in that book where they was used in the book by the prophets, patriarchs, matriarchs, and servants of God. And how they work. And they replaced everything with Lord. And they shall have been clothed with garments of glory. Garments, that's that new messianic energy, those new bodies that can endure. Going into this fourth, fifth dimension. We are in the third dimension. The whole point of us being here is so the Most High can manifest Himself in us in this reality, you know? That's why He says,